Hello there, and welcome to another review of The Shield Doing a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight we're going to talk about the new album by the band Vexes. Vexes is a band that had a album, Ancient Geometry, in 2018, and it was an album that really captured my attention because they really reminded me of a band like Deftones. I'm a huge Deftones fan. And now, after 4 years, they're releasing a huge undertaking in a double album, 24 songs. And that's something that is very massive in today's TikTok era, like where people have limited like time spans and attention span to listen to everything. So to have an album that's 24 songs and demands your full attention, and it's almost 2 hours in length, really is something that is asking to a lot of people that maybe are casual music listeners. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to listen to this album that is almost 2 hours long? The answer is a resounding yes. This is a great album, and the title of this album is as long as the album. It's called Imagine What We Could Destroy If Only Given Time. And this is an album that can be described in a tale of two halves. The first half of the album is more alternative, more rocking sounds, more reminiscent of their first album. And on the second half of the album, there's more experimentation, more variations in the songs, more electronics, more atmospherics, all blending together to create a very cohesive sound. So I'm not going to talk about the 24 tracks because that's a huge undertaking. But the album starts very interesting. It has like an album intro called Digital Trust. And in Digital Trust, we hear like a clock ticking and like a computer talking, and that starts the album. And it builds up to the song that actually opens the album, Beyond the Sinking, which was one of the singles that was released prior to the album release. And Beyond the Sinking is a song that really captures everything that the band did before. You know, it has some great guitars, great drumming, the great vocals by Charlie Barasansky, who has some tinge of Chino Moreno in him. You know, it doesn't sound exactly the same, but you can hear the influences. There are also influences by band like Fries and post-hardcore, and you can hear that in those influences in the band sound. So that song is a song that really, Beyond the Sinking, is a song that really gets you in the mood for what's coming in the album because you know there's a lot of hooks. The guitars are great, the atmospherics. It's really a great number to start the album out. And then the album has a few interesting songs like End With Me, We Are If We Dare, AOTW, which that one has a lot of like more like a screaming mix into it with the guitars, and then it blends it all together to a very cool track. Then they go and have like some of the first instrumentals that they have like in a darker motion, and then they have a song that's the longest on the album, Gather Your Bones. And Gather Your Bones is a song that's like 7 and 20 minutes long, and it's a song that goes through everything that Vexes does. You know, there's atmospherics, there's lower paced guitars, and more like ethereal vocals, like more quiet, and then it picks up the pace. Some great guitar riffing, you know, that guitar like down tune, atmospheric that you really enjoy, and it's one of the best songs on the album and a great representation of everything that Vexes does because it has those atmospherics, it has those great guitars, the great drumming indeed. And then there's a song like Dry Speed, that's another of the important tracks in the first half. And Dry Speed starts very rapidly, but then at the end of the song, it goes like more slower and it really sensual vibes to that song. The album has a middle in a song called Imagine What We Could Destroy, and this is just an instrumental track. It's the piano is very present in this song, but there's some electronics, and This is the song that prepares you for the second half of the album, where more of the experimentation takes place. And it follows with a song that was another single called Low Choices. And Low Choices starts very instrumental, soft. Like I thought of Kwai no Yokan by Deftones, like a song like Tempest, for example. It has like that slow build up and then the crunchy guitars hit and the great vocals hit. And it's a song that when the vocals hit with the guitars and the drumming, it's just pure magic. Then the album has a few more interesting songs, but it has some instrumentals like Collapse at Limit, which it's an instrumental that goes before another of the singles that they released called Energy Vampires. And Energy Vampires is a more mid-paced tune. It never goes like quite fast. It's more moody, has some great guitars to it as well. And the vocals in here are more soft, more alternative, kind of shoegazy, if you will, for that one. Then they go and have another instrumental called In This Destruction, and that one builds into another of the singles and another standout track in The Dream Disease. And The Dream Disease is another song that really builds on atmosphere. The atmosphere, the electronic elements that they use. They don't take over the song, they just are there, but they never take over. They just blend into the guitars and the other things that they do. And this one, I think I like the bass line on this one a lot. Then after that, they go into Bleak Machine. And Bleak Machine is a song that starts very frantic, and the vocals here are amazing as well. And then at the end, it goes and it more slower again, has some weird electronic noises at the end that end the song. Then we have a few more more instrumental electronics pieces, like for example Tangents, which is another instrumental electronic that goes into a Waystars, which is basically the last song on the album, and it's another mid-pace tempo kind of song. And the last song on the album, If Only Given Time, it's another instrumental, and this one you hear the clock, it goes back again, and you hear another like robotic voices talking. So the last song, If Only Given Time, it really goes into the first song that started the album, Digital Trust. So it's like a loop, and it's meant to, the man did it so when it ends, it feels like you're starting again at the beginning of the album. And I thought that was great, like the way they did that. Not a lot of albums can do that. So the thing about this album that I think are the highlights, it's the pacing. The pacing of the album is really well. I like how they like the songs they put in different places, and especially the singles that they put out. They're not at the beginning of the album, they're sung in the second half, on the beginning of the album. And the production is very great. And this album was self-produced by the band. It's all DIY, do it yourself, and that's very impressive, especially for an undertaking of a double album, because that's something unheard of today in today's like streaming world, having a double album. But this double album is very interesting. It's really worth your time. The runtime of 1 hour and 48 minutes. If I have to nitpick a little bit, I would say there's some instrumentals that I think maybe if you would have taken them out of the record, it would have made a little bit, the flow a little bit better for me. But they're not bad, they actually are pretty cool instrumentals with electronics. But I think if you would take some of them out, it wouldn't hurt the album at all. So in conclusion, this album by Vexes is a great sophomore release. Do not sleep on this band. I think this is a band that promises a lot for the future. And definitely, if you're a fan of a band like Deftones and that post-hardcore and like alternative rock with some electronic elements, check them out, because it's a very good album. So what did you think about this album? What were your favorite tracks? Were you okay with having a double album? Comment, I would like to know. And Remember, I'm putting out more content on the way, so give me a like if you like my videos. Don't forget to subscribe. I have more content on the way. So until next time, this is Hector, the shield doing a couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.